so happy to be here again in Singapore. My name is Ibrahim DAI. I'm from TalkingData. So we are a data company from China. And I love Singapore because I love the hot weather here. I can finally wear my t-shirt, wear my shorts, and swimming outside. And the heat of the weather is just like the heat of the mobile gaming market in China. So before my presentation, I will ask everybody a question. How many of you have been to China before? All right, great. 大家好. Okay, so if you asked me to use one word to describe the mobile gaming market in China, I would use the word of jungle. So it's full of challenge, but it's full of excitement and full of treasure that worth a trial. So today, since we are a data company, data can help explain everything. I'm going to take you into the jungle behind the Great Wall and help you to explain what's going on in the Chinese gaming market with the data we have. A little bit of information about TalkingData. So we provide data solutions to the people in the mobile market. So actually, we're the Chinese largest data service provider for mobile internet. So we provide all-in-one solutions to everybody within the mobile industry. We provide analytics for developers, which you can have some equivalent from the Western, like Flurry or Mixpanel. We provide App CPA, is a mobile ad tracking platform. It is the largest third-party mobile ad tracking platform in China today that has been integrated with all the major ad networks and channels within China. Maybe you know the equivalent like test offers or AdX from the Western. And we have the vertical solution that combine these together. We call it Talking Game. It's an analytics platform for mobile games, which also provides the channel tracking solutions to the developers and publishers. So altogether, we provide all-in-one solution to people in the mobile industry. And today, we're opening our TalkingData Insight platform. So this is an intelligence platform based on the data we collect. We help provide the intelligence and the capability of big data to everybody engaging in the Chinese market or is the observer of the Chinese market with the most accurate or data-rich reports and intelligence from our data. So our solution has been accessing, by the end of last year, more than 500 million smart devices, unique devices within China. We have been serving more than 5,000 mobile titles, mobile games within China. Nearly half of the top grossing chart of app stores, the games, and especially more than 80% of the micro and hardcore titles are our customers. So we have covered 100% of the top publishers. Jeff from iDreamSky is also one of our partners. And 90% of the top Android channels, 80% of the top ad networks in China, and our smart device access has overcome 80% of the total smart device market. So this is a picture that as a big data solution provider, our customers and partners within the Chinese mobile industry. Even the top channels, ad networks, and all of the three telecom carriers, they're leveraging our big data solutions. So China is developing pretty fast. So I'm going to show you some numbers. So our data is coming from in the angle of the end user, end gamers. In last year, thanks to the soaring of the development of the mobile device, the mobile users nearly tripled at the end of last year. And what is more amazing is that the percentage of gamer, our definition of gamer is that the people has at least one game installed and opened within the year on his mobile device have also grown very significantly. There's almost like a 1.5 times increase over the last year, from 64% to 96% are mobile gamers. And characteristic of China is that the development of Android platform. And if we look at the numbers, Android devices have reached more than 70% of the total mobile device market. And that would be thanks to the explosion of local brands and the development of local device models over the last year, which makes China a king of Android. If we look at this is the top models of Android devices within China. So we can find that the big brands from the global are shrinking, like Samsung, Moto, or HTC. We see more and more local brands like Xiaomi, which they call themselves the Apple of China, and Oppo, and BBK, and Lenovo, and Huawei, local brands, they are dominating the top charts, and their market share altogether has reached nearly 2/3 of the total market. So some interesting facts about the Android device in China. In the year of 2012, Samsung had 4 models exceeding 5% market share in the Chinese mobile device market. But in 2013, there's no single model exceeds 3%. So you can find it's quite fragmented for the mobile Android device market in China. And each brand enjoys very similar market share with each other. And the development comes from the high-end and low-end. High-end today are the most choice from the majority of the people, but there's also a fast development from the low-end. The low-end device, we have a very famous definition. We call it 1,000 yuan, 1,000 RMB models. So if we compare the local brand like Xiaomi versus Samsung, Xiaomi has eight different models in the top 15 models. Well, Samsung only have 5. So the local competency is getting much stronger and in a very fast pace. And the development of cities, if we look at that, and the development comes from the second tier and third tiers of the Chinese cities, with a strong performance from the 1,000 RMB models. Why is that? Because it covers the majority of the population. And for the 1,000 RMB models, they're doing great in terms of hardware and software. They all have well-equipped with 4-core CPU, more than 1 GB RAM. They all equipped with Android 4.0 or above, and they have very large room. So it makes very good infrastructure for the people to become to become mobile gamers. Because even with a low-end Android device, people are able to play some high-end, some top titles with 3D effects, things like that. So why I'm talking about the mobile devices in China? Because it is pretty important for the developers, especially Android developers, who is going to engage in China. The compatibility is one of the key factors for your success in China. You see it's quite fragmented. You don't just throw an APK file there out on the app stores and download it and let it get used to the screen size or the resolution by the framework itself. You're gonna have to do the compatibility yourself before you launch or before you do the promotion of your game. According to our experience, if the compatibility is lower than 80% of the total Android market, you're gonna miss some problems and receive some very negative feedback for your titles. So that is one key point for the developers to, reach success in China. And next, let's look at how people are install games, and where they install games, and how they play their games from some data points. In China, by the end of last year, for every single devices, there are nearly 6 games installed. That is like 1/4 of the total number of apps installed per device. And for among all the games, and the top genres are casual games, and casino and card games, and on the third are some other titles like SLG or mid-core games, which I will explain later. So there are too many content within the market, and people are installing new content at a very fast pace, and people are installing new titles every 4.5 days on average, and nearly 1/3 of the total gamers, they installed 6 to 10 games per month, and most of them happens during the day off or during some holidays. So this is the key time for you to do promotion. Okay, where do people discover and download and install applications and games from? We must talk about the distribution ecosystem. It is quite different. Everybody's explained this. This is what the distribution ecosystem like in the West or in the global, out of China. So it's simply just a strategy for the top rankings. And if you want to do social, you want to do virality, you just throw it to Facebook. But things are like this in China. It is quite fragmented. There are hundreds of different third-party app stores. There's no Google Play. There are hundreds of third-party app stores. There are tens of different app networks. There are telecom carriers. There are different platforms that are working on a revenue share model. We have our local social networks, and we have other medias and some other platforms. And I want to give you some key numbers of the ecosystem. In terms of the distribution volume, 80% are coming from the third-party app stores. And among all the third-party app stores, there are different tiers. There are like 10 or more, less than 20 different third-party app stores. There are less than 10% in numbers, but they control like 90% of all the traffic. Ad networks, they only control like 20% of the total traffic volume, but they are still the major sources for the promotion on iOS. So if we look at the numbers and the market share for the distribution sources, third-party app stores, especially those mobile assistant-like applications, and there are still huge number of people who are used to install the software on their computer, and they download the application. They connect the wire and upload it to their phones. This is also still very popular in China. That's why the mobile assistant kind of like applications are very popular in China. For the iOS distribution, the official app stores is now today is becoming major sources after the release of iOS 6. So people are getting used to get content from the official app stores. The jailbreak and third-party app stores, their market share is shrinking. So an interesting number about people downloading and discovering the games and application from the distribution networks. 40% of the devices have at least 2 or multiple different app store-like applications. Among them, 60% of them are pre-installed. So this number is pretty interesting. Let's look at the top stores in China. So tier 1 is something that I mentioned that control the majority of the traffic. 360 and Baidu, they're the two giants in terms of the traffic, the distribution traffic, because Baidu has acquired 91, and now it has 3 different app stores. And altogether, they can really compete with 360. And the fastest growing one, and we call it the winner, is the Yingyongbao from Tencent. If we compare the penetration from currently versus 6 months before, Yingyongbao has had a nearly 12% increase, and which made it the 4th ranking in the top third-party app stores. It can be reflected from the curve that we track with the penetration of Yingyongbao. And the orange line is the penetration for Google Play. And in terms of distribution, mobile advertising is something we must talk about. So these are the share for the top major ad networks in China. Dumob and Limei are the top 2 of the app distributions, especially in terms of iOS distribution. And an interesting thing is that the incentive advertising, incentive overall, is today's major method for promoting iOS activation in China. Because Apple has adjusted its algorithm on the ranking, the boating business is shrinking down. And incentive overall gives the best solution to acquire a huge amount of traffic and install base in a very short time. And it really can help you to get your application, your game into the top chart. Although some people still complain that the quality of the user acquired from incentive overall is not as good as other promotion method. Anyway, from the data we have, today is still doing great. If you look at the retention numbers, the quality of the user acquired from incentive overall is nearly competitive with the traditional banner advertising. And if you look at let's look at how people play and spend within the games. If you look at the chart of the top growth in the app stores, and also the top rankings about the Android market. So we're having an internal system. We can track every app, the penetration and activation of the applications, the Android application within the Chinese market. We found that casual titles are among the top charts, because in terms of penetration and activation, they're doing great, especially from Tencent. Tencent have 6 titles out of the top 10 for the top games. Even for their applications like WeChat, like QQ, they're still great in terms of the penetration on the top chart of applications. With more than 440 MAU, you can't make anything possible. It is a phenomenal that the WeChat games are so popular within China, and how with their mechanics like leaderboard, with the strong virality characteristic from WeChat, the growth for WeChat games are significant. One thing that Tencent is doing great is that it turns mobile users into mobile gamers. It builds the gaming characteristic for the Chinese mobile users. So I would like to use this pyramid to explain the development of the gamers within China. So for the fundamental mobile users, thanks to Tencent, more and more mobile users today, they have have their own gaming character. So casual and casino titles um, are the major their first choice when they turn to mobile gamers. So that's why casual and casino or poker titles they really enjoyed high DAU and retention rate. And among those gamers, there are, with the time is evolving, they will build a core community that which we call the mid-core gamers. They have very strong gaming characteristic. So they will spend more than an hour on gaming per day, and card battle games and SLG games are the suitable titles for them. For the mid-core titles, they have very good balance between the retention and conversion rate in terms of spending. And hardcore gamers are on the top of the pyramid. It's for the RPG and some hardcore and heavy games. They're really loyal, and some of them have very strong gaming habit. The majority of them are derived from the traditional PC games. They have very high ARPPU number, but the conversion rate is relatively low. So this can be reflected from the retention numbers that we track for the major genres within China. You'll see that for the card battle games, the retention rate, the secondary retention rate is not that high, but after 7 days, the dropping it's quite small. It becomes steady. It gets its core users in a very short of time. But for casinos, it has very, very high retention rate because it has the lowest entry barrier. Everybody in China know how to play poker, know how to play casino games. There's no barrier for them to leverage and the games on their mobile device. For RPG games, there will be a significant dropping in terms of the retention after 7 days, from 15% to only 3%. There are like 12% dropping to find the core players of that genre. So great things about China is that there are more and more spenders within China. So the number nearly tripled from the beginning of 2013 to the end of 2013. The conversion rate in total are nearly 10%, thanks to the Tencent who give the contribution turning from the mobile users into mobile gamers and to mobile spenders. So here are some of the numbers about the revenue metrics about different genres. Mid-core and card battle game, they're doing great in terms both on the ARPPU and conversion rate. But for casino and casual, they're low in conversion rate, but we see a fast growing for the ARPPU because more and more titles are adopting the F2P business model, and they're doing great, and they're doing enhancement on the mechanic for monetization. So one characteristic about the spending habit or the spending characteristic for Chinese mobile gamers is that the IAP happened at very early stage of the total lifetime within a game. This is the phenomenon of the local industry, because in China, the operators, the channels, they are dominating the ecosystem. They require the CPs to present outstanding monetization performance in a very short, very early stage to see if this is the right content they're going to promote and to assign their premium and good resources to, because majority of them are working on a revenue share model. This cost the spendings and in-app purchase occurs at very early stage of the lifetime. And in terms of payment, there are two major payments for the Chinese gamers. One is the SM short message billing from the carriers, and that is the major method for the casual games. And the other one's some mobile online third-party payment service. Alipay is still dominating the market with more than 60 or well, 2/3 of the total market. And if we look at the, all right, business is business. If we look at the business side of the total market of Chinese mobile gaming industry, we found that we're still at a very early stage of the Chinese gaming market. So we found that people are competing with each other to get the key resources from the channels, which caused the CPIs, or the CPA in China, is soaring. It is nearly doubled from the Q1 last year to Q1 this year. But in terms of return, if you look at the 30 days for new users like LTV, they're like 80% of them are unbalanced. So in the long term, ROI should be a challenging and should be a future focal point, because it is the things that you're looking at in terms of a business. So the ROI's requirements comes from both from the demand side and supply side. On the demand side, the people cannot afford to the higher CPIs. They want to spend their smart money on the right users. And for the supply side, the channels, the ad networks, they have a very limited premium resources. They're doing a revenue share model, business model with a content provider. They want to spend and assign their resources also to the right users. So that requires a capability factor or an entity that is called the DMP, who will help you to provide the right users, to help you find the right segments, and help you to do the audience targeting. And this is where TalkingData is working at. We're providing great efforts on this. We collect, aggregate the behavior data from more than 550 different unique devices. And we have built the most comprehensive tagging and profiling system on this 550 million unique device space. And we open the APIs to help the ecosystem to do the right audience targeting, to find the right segments and engage with them. So at last, I would share an example of how this is going to work. So we have done a trial campaign with one of the hardcore titles. It's RPG game. We tried it on the top one of the top tier ad networks, and we're doing a contract campaigns, one with our DMP enabled, one without it. So for the targeted advertising enabled by DMP, we only provide those advertising display for the right user with the right attributes. But for the traditional advertising, it will display the advertisements to all the requests. And turns out the conversion rate increasing is significant. In terms of CTR, they're like nearly 14 times increase. In terms of the activation conversions rate, they're like 4.5 times. And in terms of the conversion rate for registration, it's like 7 times. So the effect is significant. And so this is where DMP can help to do better on ROI. So in the last, some takeaways and outlooks. So we found that the casual titles are doing great in China, and it should be the next wave of the overall market. If you look at and put your effort on the monetization and localization in terms of the free-to-play model, and define your spending strategy and mechanic more smart and for your game, and And you're going to have solid relationship with the carriers and integrate their short message billing SDKs. And this is what we see is a golden chance for, especially for the foreign developers, especially in the casual genres. And micro games, in terms of the revenue, it should be the next mainstream. But you should really focus on the innovation, on the gameplay. For example, the card battle titles. It seems that we meet a saturation of this genre. But if there are still some shining points like Dota Hero. This is an example title that is from a very small studio from China. But it depends on a very famous IP, and it combines smartly with a new action mechanic with the card battle mechanic, and it's doing very, very great in the top grossing chart of the App Store. It even surpassed some of the WeChat titles. So this is a good example. And publishers is some guys and some people you should turn to when you enter in Chinese market, because they have sufficient budget, they have the local experience, they have the consolidation of the resources. So it's like the guide for you traveling in the jungle. And at last is data will be the next driving factors. If you look at the ROI, the next focal points. So this is where TalkingData is helping people that's going to receive your business success in China. We have the insight, we give you the data, we have you provide the benchmarking of the total market, we give you the insight for your actions, and we provide localization consulting. And we have a data product and solution, Apps API and Talking Game, to help you to find the right customers, engage with them, and do the attribution for your the performance evaluation of your different campaigns. And at last, DMP, which we believe will be the centralized platform that stays the core of the ROI business ecosystem for the mobile gaming industry in China. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.